See, now before we begin, I want you to tell me one thing, that what last time we covered is tutorial number 2. Okay, that is we were studying the types of diagram. That is okay. That means I will say that tutorial 1 and tutorial 2 has been covered. Now I want to ask you that, is tutorial 3 and tutorial 4 already covered? I mean, have you done function point or Kokomo, any one of these? Have you done function point or Kokomo? If someone can reply in chat box. For tutorial number 3 and 4, that is tutorial 3 is about Kokomo and 4 is about function point. So as per my understanding, as I have been told, that function point is covered. We have already learned the concept of function point. Is it so? Should I skip that and move on to the next tutorial? Can anyone reply in chat box? No, nothing. I'm asking, is function point already covered, or Kokomo? See, if you will not say anything, I will consider as Kokomo and function point are covered, and then we can move further. If you don't tell me, at least you can reply in chat box. Okay, fine. Then I will start explaining the next experiment, that is tutorial number 5, because no one is telling me that whether tutorial 3 or 4 are covered or not. I'll start with tutorial 5 then, if you don't want to tell me. Fine, I'll start with tutorial 5. I don't want to waste any time. See, tutorial 5 is about control flow graph, cyclomatic complexity, and independence path. See, one thing is that here you can see this code. This code given here, for this you have to draw the control flow graph, you have to calculate the cyclomatic complexity, and you need to identify the number of independent paths. This is the tutorial. So for that you should understand the concept of control flow graph, cyclomatic complexity, and independence path. So we will start with that. Okay. So we will start with the control flow graph. Okay. Uh, Unmuted, okay, fine. See, what is control flow graph? You must have studied the process of software testing. In software testing, what we do? In software testing, we test the code which we have developed as our project, or the software which we are making. Now, there are many techniques of software testing. Among those, the two most common techniques are white box testing and black box testing. White box testing is when you have the details, the internal details, all the information about the system. That is called white box. That is having the complete knowledge about the system and then performing the testing or the test over that information, or using that information. And second one is black box testing. Black box testing में क्या होता है, सिर्फ structure का knowledge होता है, not the internal knowledge of the system. So using this only we perform the testing over the structure of the system. Now in white box testing, as we have the complete knowledge of the system, there is a concept of path coverage. This path coverage is that when we execute lines of code, सॉफ्टवेयर मतलब क्या होता है? सॉफ्टवेयर इज अ कलेक्शन ऑफ लाइंस ऑफ कोड, मेनी थाउजेंड्स ऑफ लाइंस ऑफ कोड. तो इन लाइंस ऑफ कोड की एग्जीक्यूशन का मल्टीपल वेज हो सकता है. फर्स्ट वन इज executing in sequence, that is first line, then second, then third, then fourth, and so on. And the other way of executing this code is that you can have out of sequence execution, that is when you use jump statement. Suppose you have included a jump statement at line number 3, then it will jump to certain line where it is counting, like jump 102 102. So directly from third line it will jump to line number 102. So that would be like out of sequence the execution is going on. And suppose if you have uh, included while, then it will keep on executing the same line of code while that particular condition is true. So that is also not following the sequence. It is repeating the lines which have already been executed. So like that, there can be different path of execution when you are talking about the concept of path coverage. To know those all the possible paths which could be there in the system, we use this concept of control flow graph. Because what do control flow graph do? Control flow graph का काम होता है graphically represent करना control flow. Control flow मतलब when we are executing a line of code, we say that the control is on that particular line. Then the next line on which this control goes, that line will be executed. So control flow shows us that where the control is moving or getting transferred, so that we can know that particular line is the next line which needs to be executed. This flow of control is graphically represented using control flow graph, and apart from that it shows the computation also which goes on during execution of program or application. So this is the use of control flow graph. ओके, तो सिंपली अपन क्या कह सकते हैं दैट कंट्रोल फ्लो को ग्राफिकली रिप्रेजेंट करना इज द पर्पस ऑफ कंट्रोल फ्लो ग्राफ. ओके, now as it is a graph, so there are going to be what nodes and edges, because graph is made up of nodes and edges by the combination of nodes and edges. So control flow graph will also be made with nodes and edges, and apart from these two there are special kind of nodes also. Those special kind of nodes are decision node. Decision node क्या होता है? That diamond shaped box which you use in flowchart. It is used for decision making. Okay, so I was telling you about the decision node. So this diamond shaped box which we use in flowchart, that is used for decision making. That is, if certain condition is true, then we will follow one route. Otherwise, the other route or path will be followed. And there may be certain values which we check, so there can be more than even two paths possible. So like that, it makes a decision based on this condition mentioned over here. In the same way, we would be having a decision node in the control flow graph, and here decision node will be identified if there are multiple or more than two edges which are coming out of a particular node, then that node will be obviously a decision node. Opposite to that is a junction node. Junction node क्या होता है? जहाँ पे multiple incoming edges are there, like junctions are there in railway stations where multiple train routes meet or passes through. So like that also there is junction node in the control flow graph. Okay, so when multiple outgoing, that is decision node, and multiple incoming edges, that is junction. Now there are a few characteristics of control flow graph. Those characteristics are that it is uh, control flow graph shows all the possible path which can be traversed during a program execution. As I told you, what all possible paths are there, we can trace it through the nodes and edges of the control flow graph. So it tells us about the possibility that how many paths can be there. Then it is a directed graph. That means the edges which we are going to draw, those must be directed edges, not undirected edges. Okay. Then the edges in the control flow graph will show you what the flow of control, obviously, And nodes will tell you what about the blocks. That is, a node can represent either a single line of code or a block of code, which is we represent using braces. So the lines of code which are enclosed within braces, we say that it is a block of code. So either a node will represent this whole block, or for simple programs it can be just a single line of code. So that way we represent edges and nodes. Okay. Edges are represented using straight line with arrows because this is a directed graph, and nodes are represented using circles in control flow graph. Just remember this. Then comes the types of block. How many types of block can be there? So there are two types of block, that is entry block and exit block. Entry block is that one from where the control enters, that is the first most or the initial node, the first node in the graph from where the control will start flowing, that will be your entry block. And exit block is opposite to this one, where all the control or all the edges will get converged. Okay, they will terminate. So entry node shows about the, it allows the control to enter into the graph, and exit block allows the flow to leave to this exit block. So these are the two types of blocks we have in control flow graphs. Now comes how do we draw control flow graph for a general conditional statements. We have many types of conditional statement like if else, while, do while, for. So for all these, you can have an idea of what our control flow graph will look like, because these are the mostly used statements, and these are the only statements which will make the sequence out of the linear way. That is, the sequence will not be linear if any such statement is included. So these are the frequently used ones, so you can have an idea about their control flow graph. See, if you talk about if, so if का syntax क्या होता है? If a certain condition is true, then do this, otherwise, for if else, do this. So if this condition is true, then certain line of code will be executed, otherwise for false the else block will be executed. This is how if else works. So to represent this using control flow graph, we will draw a node which will represent the if and condition testing. So the if condition part is represented at this particular node. So if condition is true, then one of the paths will be followed, and if condition is false, then the other path will be followed. Okay, so this is for if, then condition true, and else the other block will be executed, and they both will terminate at this exit block. So this is the exit, or you can say end of if, end if. Okay, so this is how you can make the control flow graph for if else. Similarly for while, if you see for while, one thing I forgot to tell you here is that, see, what are the four types or components which I have told you? Nodes होंगे, edges होंगे, and there will be decision nodes and junction node. यहाँ पे decision और junction node कौन सा है? See, this node is having multiple outgoing edges. So here we are taking a decision based on this condition. So this is your decision node. This is a normal node with one incoming edge, one outgoing edge. It is simply execution of the block of code which is written over here. Same is with this one. This is a normal node with certain lines of code which will get executed. But here if you see, multiple incoming edges are there. So this is a junction node. This is a junction node. Here multiple edges are getting converged, or they are meeting. Okay, so this is how you can identify a junction node and a decision node. Now talking about the while. So what is the syntax of while? While ये कहता है, while a certain condition is true, then it will keep on executing a particular line of code. So it will test the condition, execute, then again test the condition and execute. So this node represents that condition. So if the condition is true, then it will execute. Otherwise, for false, it will follow this particular path. it will keep on executing this true block for how many times or as much time as the condition is coming out to be true. So it will test the condition. If true, then again test, then again true, then again test. So like that, the while loop will keep on working. And in case if condition is false initially or later it becomes false, then it will terminate at this exit block. So this is your exit block. Here, this particular node is what your decision or junction node. Which node is it? It is both, because multiple edges are getting converge here and multiple edges are coming out of this. This is junction node as well as decision node. Okay, so the same node can be junction node and decision node also. Now coming on do while, here what will happen, that the condition will be executed once. Okay, do while and while both are different, that for while the statements will be executed only if the condition is true, but for do while statement will be executed at least one, even though the condition is true or false it doesn't matter. Okay, so that difference has been represented here. So it will keep on performing, it will test the condition whether true or false. It will have only one part, that is executing it once. Then after again it will check, if condition true then it will execute, otherwise it will terminate. So like that, this control flow graph can be drawn for do while. Okay, now let us take an example. Are there any doubts till now? No doubts. I don't know what is the problem, why no one of you replies in the chat box whenever I ask something. That is like, okay, fine, for no replies, what can I do? I have to continue. See now, if you take this example here, if A is equals to 10, see here nesting of if is done. There are two if. So if A is equals to 10, then what we have to do? B should be greater than C. Now, because here assignment is being done, so the only uh, possibility is of becoming if true. Okay, because we are assigning here itself, so it cannot be any other value which is assigned to A. Okay, so what we will do? If A is equals to 10, then check for another condition, that if B is greater than C, then A should be equals to B. Otherwise, A should be made equals to C. End the two if and print the three variables. Now see, if you want to design the control flow graph for this code, that before that there is a good practice. If you don't have so much expertise in drawing the control flow graph, then one of the good practice is drawing a flow chart for the same code, because we are more familiar with the flow chart. So you can first draw the flow chart and then convert this flow chart into the control flow graph. Okay, you can do this if you want. So if we draw the flow chart for the code, firstly A is initialized to 0, or you can take 10 as per the code which was there. So if A is initialized to 10 and then B is greater than 0, this is first if which was taken, this is second if which was taken, both are decision nodes. Then for true condition they have taken A equals to B, and for the else or the false condition they have taken A is equals to C, and both if are ending, and finally the control will exit the blocks. Okay, so if you draw the control flow graph for the same flow chart, then we will make a node for this first if, then we will make another node for the second if. From this another if, there will be true and false path. For true, it will execute A equals to B, and for false, it will execute A equals to C. Then both will meet at the junction node, and finally they will exit. So this is how you draw your flow chart and control flow graph. So this is a good practice if you don't have much idea about control flow graph, that how to draw it at first, like in one try only. So what you can do, you can draw the flow chart and then you can convert it into the control flow graph. Okay, see, they have drawn the same chart, same graph. Now we have seen the various notations which are used for control flow graph, like nodes. So what are nodes used for? Nodes are used to create a path of procedure, because if we consider the nodes, then only we can know that what is the path which we need to follow, and it also tells us about which procedure is next to come. So which one is going to be the next procedure, that is told, that can be understood if you look at the nodes of the control flow graph. When talking about the edges, edges are used to link the directions of nodes. So to connect the nodes but in a directed way, we use the edges. Then decision nodes are used to decide the next node of procedure as per the value. So decision node checks the condition or tests the value, and as per the value, it will decide which one is going to be your next node. And junction nodes are the points where at least two links meet. Okay, we should be clear. So the junction node decides, it is a point where, not decides, junction node is a point where at least two links meet. See, if you see this example, look at this example of vote eligibility age. This is an example of vote eligibility age. So what you can see that here they have made a simple code, a block of code, which will which is telling you about whether you are eligible for voting or not. So first they have initialized the age. If age is greater than equals to 18, then you are eligible for voting, else or otherwise you are not. Okay, so to draw the control flow diagram for this looks like flow chart, but here you can use just simple circles instead of all these shapes, where it will exactly be your control flow graph. For now, it looks more like a flow chart, but the only the shape is different, but the notation or the uh, meaning and the flow of control is the same, that would be in control flow graph. So the control flow graph for that particular block of code is, we will start with the entry block, then the age is initialized to 45, not 18. It was taken n is equals to 45 था ना, वो 45 क्या था, एज को इनिशियलाइज किया था. Then age is tested in this if. So if n is greater than equals to 80, then this will be executed. Otherwise, you are not eligible. And then it will end up at this junction node or the exit block. So this is how simply you can draw the control flow graph. Okay. So similarly, like this, you have to draw the control flow graph for your this code. See, this complete code has one if, one while, then there is if else. So for this code, what you have to do, you have to design or you have to make a control flow graph. Okay, simply do what? Simply convert all every line into a node, and then decide what all path can be there, and then combine all the nodes with the directed edges. Okay, this is what you have to do. Now coming on the next topic, that is cyclomatic complexity. Cyclomatic complexity is what? Basically, cyclomatic complexity tells us about the complexity of a program. So it is a software metric which is used to measure the complexity of a program. It will tell us about the quantitative measure of what the complexity of a program is. Okay. Apart from that, it is a quantitative measure of the number of linearly independent paths. What are linearly independent paths? So Let me tell you in this example. See, if you look here, you can see that how many possible paths are here. See, one of the possible path is from start to age to decision, decision to this yes path, and then finally to the termination or the exit block. One of the path is this. If you look at another possible path, then the same start to age to decision is also the same edge. Then we will go towards the false or the else condition, and then we will go to the exit block. So these are the two different paths we have, although there are certain edges which are common, but there are these are the two different paths, and these paths are only called as independent path. Let me show you the definition of independent path. See, independent path is a path that has at least one edge which has not been traversed before in any other path. So if you have few common edges, that is okay, but there must be at least one edge which is new, completely new, which has not been traversed before in or considered before in any of the paths. So here, if we talk about this example, how many independent paths are there? Two. If you want to take third one, then you have to repeat all the edges of either the first path or the second path. So that would not be an independent path. So independent path must have at least one uncommon edge. Okay. Now, how do you compute cyclomatic complexity? So to compute cyclomatic complexity, we have to use this control flow graph. How? So, how can you calculate the cyclomatic complexity using control flow graph? Let us see this example again. That how can you use it for computing the cyclomatic complexity? There are two formulas which are used to compute cyclomatic complexity. First one is E minus V plus 2. E minus V plus 2. Here E is the number of edges in the control flow graph. V is the number of vertices in the control flow graph, and 2 is a constant, obviously. So you can subtract the number of edges with the number of vertices and add 2 to it. Here the count of number of edges in this particular example is, you can count here, see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. So here there are 7 edges minus number of vertices. So vertices are all the nodes you have. Here the number of nodes are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. So here there are 6 nodes or vertices, and we have to add 2 into this. So when we do this calculation, we will get answer as 3. So here the count or the measure of the cyclomatic complexity is 3. We simply subtracted the edges from vertices and added 2 to it. So this is how control flow graph is used for computing cyclomatic complexity. Second formula for computing cyclomatic complexity is R plus 1. What is this R? So here R means the region. Region is what? See, if you look at this area, this component, this one, this is a closed space. By considering the edges, this is forming a closed space. So this is one of the region. So region is the area which is formed by the edges and which is a closed space. So this is first region. Apart from this first region, the whole rest of the region of this graph will be a second region. So here the number of regions are 2. So 2 plus 1 will give you 3. So the cyclomatic complexity again came out to be 3. So our formula and calculation is correct. So this is how you can find cyclomatic complexity using R plus 1 or E minus V plus 2. Whatever is more likely to suit your interest. Okay. This is how you can calculate the cyclomatic complexity. Now, there are certain steps which you can follow to calculate this cyclomatic complexity. See, the first step here is you have to construct the control flow graph with nodes and edges, okay, from the code which is given to you. Second one is identifying the independent path. Just now I told you what are independent path. And third step is finding the cyclomatic complexity by doing the calculation. And fourth, if you want, you can design the test case. So these are the steps. If you follow these steps, you can complete your tutorial also. See here in the tutorial, this is the code given. So draw a control flow graph for this code, then find the independent path in this graph, control flow graph, and after that, what you have to do, you have to calculate the cyclomatic complexity. And these are the three factors which have been asked here for this particular code. So this is how you can do your tutorial number 5. Okay, simply draw the graph, find the independent path, and then the cyclomatic complexity. Okay. Here with this, now see here, if you look at this code, what they have done to draw the control flow graph for this code, because it looks little bit complicated in comparison to previous example. So what they have done, they have assigned numbers. They have assigned numbers to all the lines so that they have ease. See here, they have assigned number to all the lines, so it is easy to draw the control flow graph, because writing the information is more complicated rather than writing the number. Just provide the lines of code with a number and you will have this graph. Okay, you can mention that number over here instead of writing that particular line of code. Now see, if you look here, they have explained the concept of regions also nicely here for this particular set of edges, as it is forming a closed space. So this is going to be one of the region, but here if you look, this is not a closed region, so this is not this will not be considered as a region here. Okay, it will be considered in this generalized complete space. Then here it is forming a closed space, so this is your second region. Similarly, the third region in this control flow graph is this one, and the rest of all is the fourth region. So here the number of regions came out to be 4. You can put this value in the formula and get your cyclomatic complexity. Okay, so this is all about your tutorial number 5. I hope I'm clear at what you need to do. At least you should understand that what you need to do, how you need to solve, because I'm telling you how to do it, but for that you have to understand the concept, that how you should do. If you have any doubt, you can ask me. Otherwise, anyway, we are proceeding further. Okay, so coming on to the next tutorial, that is tutorial number 6. See what you have to do in this tutorial. You have to make a project again, like you did in your tutorial number 2. You have made SRS for a project, so like that here, but here you have to do the implementation also. Okay, so here you can make project, and that too in groups. The groups will be same as it there were groups in project, as there were groups in tutorial 2. Okay, so you can be in the same group like you were there in for tutorial 2, but here the project should be different. You cannot take the same project which you have taken for preparing your SRS. ग्रुप सेम हो सकते हैं पर प्रोजेक्ट डिफरेंट होना चाहिए. The names or a list of few projects have been suggested here. Either you can choose from here or you can select your own. Okay, so these are the list of systems or the project names which are suggested for you to either choose from this one or select on your own. Now there are certain list of documents which you need to prepare for your project. Those that list is, see, first one here there are five documents in this list. First one is you need to prepare the SRS. Do not include the diagrams in SRS. ठीक है? तो जो डायग्राम वाला अपेंडिक्स है उसको एक्सक्लूड करके prepare the rest of the format or the SRS. Okay. Then in second one you have to prepare function oriented design using SASD. Here SASD means structure analysis and structure design. So for this point you have to make the DFD of your project. Here software analysis and design can be reflected using DFD. So just make the DFD of your project. Then comes the third point, that is object oriented design using UML. So object oriented design using UML means that you have to draw the class diagram, because UML is based on the concept of object oriented, and the best type of UML diagram which explains this object oriented part is your class diagram. So just simply draw the class diagram for your point number 3. Then for your fourth point, that is test case design. For test case design, what you need to do, there are various techniques and also a tool available. See, for test case design, there are various techniques and also a tool available which you can use to make the test case design. Okay, the various techniques are, first of all, let me tell you why do we use this test case design process. So to it is a technique which is used to test the functionality and features of your software. So if you want to test the features and functionality, simply design the test cases. Okay. Now there are various techniques, as I was telling you, for designing these test cases, and those techniques have been categorized into three types. That is specification based technique, that is specification बेस्ड टेक्निक, इसको बोलते हैं ब्लैक बॉक्स टेक्निक. दिस इज योर ब्लैक बॉक्स. और ब्लैक बॉक्स टेक्निक मतलब क्या होगा, वी हैव द knowledge about the we just have the knowledge about the outer uh, outer information of the system. Okay, so here what will be there, that uh, here we just know about the technical specification, design, client's requirement, and information like that. We don't have any internal detail. Then comes the second category of test case design technique, that is structure based technique. This technique is called white box testing. Now, because it is white box testing, so we would be having the internal complete knowledge about the system in structure based techniques. And the third category is experience based technique. In experience based technique, few team of experts would be developing the project, so they can guess the various possibilities which could be there for designing the test cases. Okay, now let us see what all techniques come under specification based or black box technique. The name of those techniques are boundary value analysis, equivalence partitioning, then decision table testing, state transition diagram, and use case testing. All these are black box testing, test case designing technique. Then for the structure based or white box test technique, which these are based on the internal structure of the software. Okay, so they help us to design the test cases in a using the proper details. Now there are various techniques which come under this category. Those techniques are statement testing and coverage, decision testing coverage, condition testing, multiple condition testing, and all part testing. These are all techniques which are covered under white box test case design technique. And the third category, which was experience based technique, in this there are two types of technique, that is error guessing and exploratory testing. These can be performed by experts. They have more understanding of the various areas of the software. So either you can use any one of these techniques, or simply use this tool which is available to uh, design the test case for your software. Rec test. Okay, rec test is the name of the tool which is available, and it is preferred by many companies across the world. So you can use it. For that, you need to see if it is open source or paid version, or you can find more other types of tools which are available for the designing of the test cases. Okay, so this is what you have to do for your point number 4. Now, in point number 5, you have to do implementation. Now, for the implementation, you can implement just a module, because it might be the case that implementing the whole project would be little difficult. It can be little difficult. So just implement the one of the module of your project. Now this language is not compulsory needed to be Java. आप यहाँ पे Python, C++, .NET, any language which you are comfortable with, you can implement in that particular language. And for this testing part, this testing which is done at the end, for this part, what you can do, you can use the various techniques which are there. Again, that was test case design technique, those which we studied in fourth point. In this one, we are seeing the techniques which are used to make our software successfully operate in multiple environment and across different platforms. So this is for the diverse functioning of your system. Okay, now the categories or the testing techniques are broken down into two categories, that is functional testing and non-functional testing. Functional testing matlab this focuses on the software's behavior as per expectation. That is, it will test whether the software is behaving as per the expectation which we had thought of or not. And non-functional testing are those testing techniques which focuses on operational aspect. This will focus on what? Operational aspect of the software. Now there are various techniques, types which are included under functional category. Those are unit testing, integration testing, system testing, and acceptance testing. Then for the non-functional testing, there are performance testing, security testing, usability, and compatibility testing. So all these types are there. You can select any one of the type to perform the process of testing for your project. This is how you have to complete your tutorial number 6. Okay, preparing all these documents. This is how you need to do it. Okay, any doubts in this particular tutorial or in previous, or any query if you want to ask? We'll take break of 1 minute, and then we will proceed further. Until then, if anyone have any doubt, you can ask me. Okay, now let's move on to the next tutorial, the last one. That is your tutorial number 7. Okay, here you have to do case study. In this tutorial, you have to perform case study. Case study of what? So for that, you need to study the concept, the technology, which is DevOps. What is this DevOps? First study, let us study that. Then after you will easily understand what this tutorial is about. Okay. So DevOps is a combination. DevOps, this word is made with the combination of two words, that is development and operation. So this dev is for development. See, this development, and ops is for this operation. So it is a combination of two words, that is development and operation. What is this development and operation? So when we talk about developing a software or any application or any of the project, the whole team of for developing this software is divided into two teams or two parts, that is one team is development team and another team is operation team. So the development team do all the work of coding, building, and then it releases, then it delivers this code, this project which it has built to the operation team. The operation team will monitor this, that is it will monitor the whole building or whole coding part, as well as it will do what? It will perform the testing over this code which has been developed by the development team. And in case there are any errors, it will give feedback to the development team that you rebuild your code from the scratch. So again, it will have to give so much of time to rebuild that same code and rectify that error. Okay, so this is how traditionally we used to work. And the thing was that because development team and operation team were in no contact, they did not used to communicate at all. Development team and operation team used to work in complete isolation without any interaction. So this thing, because of this, the time which is required for development was too much, because at the end we get to know the error and when they are tested by the operation team, and then again the whole code needed to be developed. Irrespective of this, if development and operation team would have been in contact, what was possible? That at that particular time only operation team can test and tell development team that you correct your error right now. So the time of development of delivering the project would have been reduced. So this thing has been done in DevOps. Here, what it do? That instead of the traditional way where development team used to work separately and operation team used to work separately, instead of that, what DevOps do? It it is basically alignment of development and IT operation with better communication and collaboration. So these two teams work together, like this developer and testers are working together with the IT operation team so as to speed up the process, to serve the customers better, to increase the organization speed, and to make software production and deployment in an automated and repeatable way. Why automated and repeatable? Because if continuously all the phases of the life cycle are going on in parallel, then we can repeat or reuse the same phase or the same function again and again, and that will increase the speed of working or the speed of delivery also. Okay, now if you look at this, this is the DevOps life cycle. I'll show you one another. See this. This is the logo which represents the DevOps life cycle. तो ये logo भी है और DevOps का life cycle भी represent करता है. What are the various phases which are there? So the first phase starts with the planning. So we do planning, then coding, then we build, then we test, then release, then deploy, operate, and continuous monitoring. So this is how it works. Here, the development team and operation team continuously. See, if you look at this symbol is like infinity symbol. So this is that continuously both the teams are working in proper coordination and cooperation with each other for effective delivery. So all the phases goes on in parallel. That is, while coding you can release that particular block of code, you can deploy it to the operation team so that it can rectify, it can tell about the error which has occurred. Okay, so this is how your DevOps work. Now before this, the traditional way which I was telling about, the traditional way which use waterfall model. You must have studied waterfall model. Waterfall model में क्या होता है, phases में work होता है. So waterfall model work in phases. That is, after first phase you can move to second, and after second only you can move to third. So when coding is done, then after you build, test, and at the testing phase you get to know that what is the error. So then after again go to the coding phase to rectify that error. So like that, only sequential execution is there. That is one after the other. See, there are two types of execution which can be done in sequence, that is one after the other, or in parallel, that is all the phases are being done or being operated in parallel. So I, if you think about this, then sequential execution is very less efficient in comparison to this parallel execution, because if we operate parallelly, then we can deliver the code in much less time in comparison to the sequential, because here we will get to know about the errors and the flaws of the system very late, but here we can get to know about it that particular time only. So to implement this sequential execution, uh, to rectify this drawback of sequential execution, we moved to agile methodology. What is this agile methodology? So in agile methodology, what we do, we break down the system into components and we work on these components parallelly. So here the sequential execution is converted into the parallel execution. Okay, so this is how we work in agile methodology. That is, the system is break down into components and then we can carry out the execution of these components in parallel. Further, there were few drawbacks of agile methodology which were rectified in DevOps. Okay, so this is how the techniques or the technology has shifted from waterfall model to agile and from agile to DevOps. Okay, this is all what I have explained over here, like comparison, what are the characteristics of DevOps. Okay, then there is the explanation of each phase. So like that, I have explained the complete technology of DevOps. You can refer this manual if you want. Okay, I can share it with you if you want to study about DevOps, because this is a nice explanation in easy language. Okay, now what you have to do here in your tutorial, see, if you look at this tutorial, they are saying that you have to study any two open source tools in DevOps. Now what are the tools? So for that, just have a look at this image. See, this is the life cycle of DevOps. Okay, and here for each phase there are various tools which are mentioned. These all icons which you see here, these are the tools, name of the tools. Like Git is a tool for the coding phase. Jira is a tool for the coding phase. Then Confluence is a tool for the coding phase. So like that, there are many tools. These are only a few which I have shown, but there are many tools which are available for each and every phase of DevOps. Like for build, there is Maven SBT. For test, there is SE, JUnit. For release, there is Jenkins and CodeShip. Like that, Docker is a very popular tool. Then there are many tools available in Amazon Web Services for your deployment phase. Then Chef is a tool for operate. It is a very popular tool. So like that, there are many tools which are there for every phase. So what you need to do is pick any of the two tools and perform case study on that. See, let me show you. If you want, you can pick any tool. Here, further, they have written that you have to study any two open source tool in DevOps which are used for infrastructure automation. These are the area for which various tools are available in DevOps. Like area can be infrastructure automation, configuration management, deployment automation, performance management, log management, or monitoring. And few tools have been suggested here, like example Behat, Vater, Chef, Supergiant, Solstack, Docker, Hudson, like that. And apart from these, there are many tools, so you can choose on your own. That is a flexibility which I'm providing. That tool can be of your choice. Okay. Now there are many more also. Like I have included this Snort. Snort is a tool. It is an open source tool which is used for detection of intruders. Okay, so this tool you can use for detection of intruders. This is also one of the DevOps tool. Then there is Chef. Chef is used for the speed, scale, and consistency. For achieving all these three, Chef is used. We have seen Chef in this also. See this tool. So this is the same tool which I have mentioned in my tutorial. Then there is Docker, which is used for building, shipping, and running distributed application. Then there is Juju, which is used for deployment, configuration, scale, and operate software on public and private cloud. So like that, there are many tools available which you can use with DevOps. Okay, so just pick any two tools and uh, include the description of them, a proper case study in your tutorial number 7. So this is your tutorial 7 which you need to do. Okay, here with all these. Now, if you want, you can tell me that should I explain you tutorial 3 or 4, or you are done with that, you don't want to talk at all. Because if you don't reply, how am I supposed to know?